Cambridge or Somerville, Massachusetts? Stay tuned so you can decide which city you choose. Hi, it's Charles Cherney, and I'm a top realtor in Cambridge and Somerville, Massachusetts, working with buyers and sellers these last 20 plus years in both Cambridge and Somerville. And so obviously the question arises, Cambridge versus Somerville, which city do you prefer? So let's just touch on a few different aspects of each city. So Cambridge, about 120,000 souls, Somerville, about 80,000. Both are densely packed cities on the left bank, if you will, across the Charles River from Boston. And they're both appealing in their own ways. There's pluses and minuses to every community. So let's just touch on some of the differences between the two. So let's start with something small, street signs. In Cambridge, the street signs are green with white letters, and in Somerville, they're blue. And actually, since Cambridge and Somerville border one on the other, it's a handy way to know where you are. When you see a street sign, if it's green, you're in Cambridge, and if it's blue, you're in Somerville. I've always preferred the Cambridge signs. Not sure why. They're both fine. I just like the green signs. Squares. So in Cambridge, you've got Porter Square, Harvard Square, Central Square, Inman, and Kendall. Those are the five main squares. And in Somerville, the five main squares are Teal, Davis, Ball, McGowan, Union, and Assembly. I think that's six. And so in Cambridge, the primary square is Harvard Square. It's the crossroads of Cambridge, home to Harvard University, primary Red Line T station stop, lots of tourists. It's the sort of central square of Cambridge, to take nothing away from the square named Central Square. One station stop up where City Hall is found. And there's many shop services and restaurants. And then in Somerville, the primary square is Davis Square. And the Red Line is found here with service to Boston through Cambridge. So it feels like to me that the five squares of Cambridge have a little more life that define them, but that takes nothing away from the squares of Somerville, in particular Davis Square, which of all the squares in both Cambridge and Somerville, I think is the most authentic. There's a lot going on. There's the Somerville Theater. There's a grocery store. There's lots of shops and services, many of which are independent. And it's a real crossroads for Somerville with easy access to Tufts and surrounding neighborhoods. It's just a fantastic, authentic square. Yes, there are a certain number of tourists that find their way to Davis Square, but it's really much more of a square defined by its residents in the neighborhood. So hats off to Davis Square. I think it's the best square in Cambridge and Somerville. Sure, Harvard Square is great. My office is there. Harvard University is there. Lots of people come through Harvard Square. Just has a different vibe. Of course, in COVID times, the whole feeling is entirely different. It's much quieter. So those are the squares in both cities. As for the Mbta lines, the red line goes through Cambridge. You know, the first station stop across the Charles River from Boston is Kendall, and then you're into Central, Harvard, Porter, and then there's the one station stop on the red line in Somerville at Davis, and then you're back into Cambridge at the last stop on the line on Alewife. And then there's one green line station in East Cambridge at Lechmere, which actually is closed right now because it's being rebuilt. As for Somerville, other than the red line stop in Davis Square, that's it for right now. But the green line extension on the Mbta line is in the works. So before you know it, there'll be a station stop on the green line in Union Square, Somerville. That'll be a standalone stop. But then the green line expansion will take you eventually in Somerville to a station stop on Washington Street, one in Gilman Square, one on Lowell Street, one in Ball Square, and one at Tufts out at College Ave. So that's all in the works. And so that Green Line expansion is going to give Somerville a reason to compete with Cambridge when it comes to Mbta lines serving each city with connecting points to Boston. As for real estate prices, no surprise, the average sale price for a property in Cambridge, as I make this video in August 2020, is $1,285,000. That's for an average sale price, including singles, condos, and multis, whereas the average sale price in Somerville is just under $1 million at $991,000. Look, I get it. Both cities are expensive, and it's not like there's a bargain per se to be had in either town. I mean, my lord, $1,285,000 is an average sale price in Cambridge, and just under $1 million at $991,000 in Somerville. These are expensive places to purchase properties. As for property taxes, Advantage Cambridge, the actual property tax rate in 2020 is $5.75 per thousand of assessed value, whereas in Somerville, it's $10.09. So tax rate in Somerville is higher. The residential exemption, which is the discount you get on your tax bill if it's your primary residence, in Cambridge in 2020 is $2,365. And in Somerville, it's a bit more generous. It's $3,269. Yes, the property tax rate in Cambridge is lower, but it may be that your property is assessed for more because it's deemed to be worth more. And in Somerville, the higher tax rate at $10.09 per thousand of assessed value may be offset by the fact that your property is perhaps assessed for maybe not as much as it would be if it were in Cambridge. But look, on average, you're going to have a higher tax bill as a property owner in Somerville than you would be if you are in Cambridge. And that's because Cambridge enjoys the luxury of a larger commercial tax base to offset the requirement to bring in more through residential property taxes. How about parks? So it's interesting. Cambridge has these large parks, Fresh Pond Reservation, where there's a kettle hole, fresh pond with a big 2.25 circle track around it. Great for walking and biking. There's Daney Park in Neighborhood 9, bordering on North Cambridge, which is a large 50-acre space. There's the Lynch Family Skate Park under the bridge in East Cambridge. And so these are destination address parks and wonderful. And in Somerville, you just don't have parks of that magnitude. So there's Trumfield up on Broadway. There's Lincoln Park, which was renovated in 2018 outside of Union Square, Somerville, which features a playground and some playing fields and a skate park and basketball courts and some fitness stations. So it's not like there aren't parks in Somerville. There's Foss Park, Trumfield. There's smaller parks like Albion Playground and Lexington Park off Lexington Street outside of Davis. So you've got parks in Somerville that just tend to be smaller. I'm thinking now of Nathan Tufts Park outside of Tufts University near the Rotary there. And that's a lovely little park. It's just smaller. And Cambridge has these larger parks. Now, Cambridge, too, has smaller parks. So at the end of my street in the Inman Square area is a lovely little park at the corner of Elm and Hampshire. So Cambridge, too, has lovely little parks. So parks are a plus in both cities. It's just that Cambridge has the luxury of a few larger ones. One thing Somerville has that I really like is the Somerville Community Path, which starts in Davis Square and heads out towards Lowell Street, where there'll soon be a Green Line T station stop. And that's a great way for Somerville residents to get to and from Davis Square. So that's a nice bonus that Somerville enjoys. For universities, look, Cambridge has the big ones with Harvard and MIT. It also has Lesley University in the Porter Square area. And then in Somerville, you've got Tufts, and it's not entirely in Somerville. A portion of the Tufts campus is in neighboring Medford. So, look, there's more students and a greater felt presence of students in Cambridge over Somerville. Although portions of West Somerville bordering on Tufts have an active student population, at least when we're not in COVID times. As for cafes, look, there are a couple mainstays in Cambridge. There's the Darwin's Limited Cafe, of which there are 4 locations. And in addition, Joanne Chang has a couple of her flower bakery and cafe outposts in Cambridge, one in Harvard Square, and actually one on Mass Ave outside of Central, and another one on Erie Street in the heart of Cambridgeport. As for Somerville, some of the classic independent mainstays are the Block 11 Cafe in Union Square, the Forge Bakery and Cafe outside of Union Square, and then in the heart of Davis, Diesel Cafe is there. So you've got some great cafes in both places. I don't know in COVID times if it's right to get into restaurants right now. We're here to support them all, and there's good ones found in both Cambridge and Somerville. A mainstay in Somerville is the Highland Avenue Kitchen on Highland Avenue, and a newcomer that I'm fond of in Cambridge on Mass Ave outside of Harvard Square is Pammy's, which is just a great local restaurant with an Italian cuisine just outside of Harvard Square. So look, there's lots to love about both Cambridge and Somerville. I'm in Cambridge as a resident, and my street ends in Somerville. As an agent, I'm working with buyers and sellers in both cities every day. I'm in both cities enjoying all they have to offer every day. And, look, it's hard to pick one over the other, but I live in Cambridge. I went to Harvard. It's where I'm at. It's probably my choice if I had to make one, but fortunately I don't have to make a choice. I get to enjoy both and love them for what they are each and every day of my life. And I feel like I'm a citizen of both. So be sure to share with me in the comments below which city you prefer and why. And I hope that the thoughts I've shared here about Cambridge and Somerville have you thinking about which one you're interested in. Reach out for assistance with coming to know Cambridge and Somerville better. Text me, telephone, email, whatever. I'm here to help you find the right home or sell for the best price, or simply answer your questions about Cambridge and Somerville, the markets here, and the community. Take care.